2FM. Game On's Fantasy Football.
Hello, and you're very welcome along to the Game On Fantasy Football Podcast, and it's Game Week 35. Of course, for those of you who are regular listeners, you'll know I am not Andrew O'Connor. Andrew is over in Newcastle helping Alan Pardew with his press issues at the moment. So I am Phil McGrath, of course, of FantasyPremierLeagueTransfers.com, and I'll be taking you through today's show. And of course, joined with me is Paul Caffrey. Paul, how are you?
I'm very well, Phil. How are you keeping?
Can't complain. It's quite strange not having Andrew around. I miss his beard.
Yes, yeah. Well, look, I'm sure it'll be back soon.
It will. He'll be back with us in 2 weeks' time. So it'll be yourself and myself for 2 weeks. Keep the show on the road.
Good stuff.
Right, well, listen.
Bit of banter anyway.
Yeah, listen, sure, we'll crack on and we'll take a look back at Game Week 34. Of course, very interesting week with the two double fixtures, of course, that we had. But starting off the week, it was Crystal Palace and Villa. Palace, of course, won the first game 1-0. Jason Punchin with the goal there. Fulham picked up a much-needed win, 1-0 against Norwich. Roddy Yeager got their goal. And then it was Cardiff's surprise victory against Southampton. I don't think there was many saw that one coming. Juan Carlo with the goal there. Defender popping up with a crucial goal, I suppose. Stoke City bet Newcastle, no real surprise there. Newcastle are probably on summer holidays already at this point. Peters got their goal. Everton bet Sunderland 1-0. Deulofeu with the goal, and well, we were all a little bit disappointed with Lukaku, let's be honest about it. And then it was West Brom 3. Yeah, West Brom 3, Tottenham 3. I don't think there was too many of us saw that one coming either. Sessegnon, Brunt and Vidra with West Brom's goals, and Eriksson and Kane got 2 for Tottenham, and of course there was an own goal for Olsen thrown into the mix. Liverpool 3, Man City 2. I thought it was going to be a bit tighter.
I thought it was a great game of football.
It was. I was kind of hoping for the draw just to keep it trucking on, but I think the results later in the week have certainly proved it's probably gonna be Liverpool's throwaway. It was Skirtle, Sterling and Coutinho got the goals for Liverpool, and I think
at this point you can't pick out anybody to say they're absolutely gonna go and win it. And look, then trying to fix out your fantasy football team is even 10 times harder, but I'm sure we'll move on to that.
It sounds like we're gonna have plenty to talk about this week anyway. Keeping on with the fixtures, Chelsea bet Swansea 1-0. Demba Ba with the goal there. He's enjoying a good time of it, and I suppose really they're just trying to get his price up so they can ship him on in the summer. Arsenal bet West Ham 3-1. Podolski with 2, Giroud with the other, and Matt Jarvis got West Ham's goal. And then last night's fixtures, I suppose these are going to take a lot of talking. Crystal Palace 3, Everton 2. I don't know about you, Paul, but I was absolutely shocked at that one. I thought Palace were safe after the result against Villa earlier in the game week, and I thought certainly Everton will push on, make it 8 wins on the bounce. But to be honest,
I wasn't totally surprised. Reason being, Everton have been on such a good run. They've won so many matches. And Tony Pulis seems to be a man who likes to spoil the party. He's got that reputation. I brought in Punchin, so I was quite happy to see him get on the score sheet
as were many
in the game. But yeah, it's a shame for Everton. I know a lot of Everton fans, they're getting very excited about the thought of having some nice European trips on the radar. Now it looks a little bit less likely. Not gone, but I think they have to win Sunday.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think they will. Scott Dan, Jason Punchin and Cameron Jerome got the goals for Palace, and Morelos and Naismith were on the score sheet for Everton. And then Man City 2, Sunderland 2. Poor Vito Manoni, huh?
Yeah, it's not great, was it?
No, Connor Wickham got 2 goals for Sunderland, and Nasri and Fernandinho on the score sheet for City. It's handed it slightly in favour of Liverpool, certainly. And you just have to wonder, is that point going to be enough to store Sunderland on then at the bottom?
If you take it at its merits, it's absolutely in Liverpool and Chelsea's hands. You know, if either of those go on and win all of their games, their 4 games, they win the league. So, it couldn't be closer. And then the other side of things are, if Liverpool and Chelsea play out a draw and Manchester City go on and win the rest of their games, well, then they're in a position where if any other slip, and they'll be champions. So, it really is that close, so we'll see what happens. If it's in everyone's hands, I suppose is the big thing. Well, I suppose not exactly in Man City's hands, but I wouldn't put a bet on who is going to win the title this year. Let's say, even at this late point, I still can't tell. I've been saying Chelsea all along, and I'm going to stick with that. But You wouldn't put anything on the line for it at the same time.
No, very, very true, very true. I personally, I had City all along, I think, but after last night's draw, I think we could be in trouble. But sure, listen, we move on and have a look at our 3 focus games. First up this week, we'll head to White Hart Lane, Tottenham and Fulham. Tottenham are coming into this one on the back of 2 wins, 3 losses and 1 draw in the last 6. They've picked up 24 goals in 17 home games, conceding 22 during those 17. Whereas Fulham, they've got 3 wins, 3 losses in their last 6, picked up 14 goals in 17 away games, but have conceded 40. Which is a serious amount of goals.
Phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, they've
40 goals.
They've only got 1 clean sheet away from home all season. They're the only side in the league actually to only manage 1 clean sheet away from home all year. And that 40 goals conceded away from home is the worst tally in the league. But they're not alone in that. Norwich also have conceded 40, so the two of them can sit hand in hand on that one. But I suppose fantasy points wise, Paul, what are you thinking?
Well, look, I mean, it's actually quite difficult to call. Obviously, Tottenham, despite all the speculation that's come out around Team Sherwood, they're absolutely still playing for their manager, and that was really shown last week. I mean, they went a few goals down against West Brom, and they came back, fought and got that all-important equaliser in stoppage time there. So to come back from 3 goals showing that you're still playing, and for that, I mean, that gives us the opportunity to look at, well, where are the fantasy points coming from? Look, we know Adebayor missed a penalty last week. Would I expect Fulham to keep a clean sheet? Under normal circumstances, I would be kind of saying, look, it's Tottenham all day. We want to be looking at the mainstays there and maybe potentially going for a clean sheet for them. However, I think you can kind of take that and just turn it on its head, because Fulham, they're in a dogfight. They have to win. They've got momentum on their side. It looks like Felix Magath has got them, got defensively, got them a little bit more, organised. And they're not getting lots of goals, but they are kind of etching out wins, and 2 wins in a row is certainly a big turnaround for them. And I mean, should they go on and get a win the weekend, it's more than likely that they would actually move out of the bottom 3 for the first time in a very, very long time. So, as regards points, look, very, very difficult to pick. If I had to pick one player from the game, I would absolutely be saying, look, I'll go for Adebayor. Reason being, although there's improvements in that Fulham defence, I still have doubts as to, I suppose, its capacity to keep clean sheets. I wouldn't even necessarily be saying that Tottenham are definitely going to win this game. So Adebayor for me is 1. Eriksen, we kind of saw him come into form, go out of form. He scored a good goal last week and last in the dying seconds of the game. So he's another one who's on the radar. But for me, I'm not going to be rushing out to bring in Tottenham players. I'm tempted to bring in Roddy Yeager of Fulham, and that's pretty much due to the fact he's used to being down there in amongst it in his days with Wigan fighting relegation, and he's coming good now. So, what players do you reckon would you be looking at bringing in, Phil, or will you bring in anybody from Tottenham this week into your team?
Yeah, I mean, I have Eriksen already. I brought Eriksen in 2 weeks ago. I was having a little look at Tottenham's fixtures, and I kind of went, yeah, they're probably not going to get what they want, and they're nowhere near off where they want to be now. But I mean, I was looking at their run-in. The run-in was probably the best of any team in the league on paper. Obviously, when you're facing teams that are down the bottom half, it's going to be different at this end of the season. But even now, they Fulham this week in Gameweek 35. But then they travel to Stoke and West Ham before their final game of the season is at home against Villa. I mean, Stoke, West Ham and Villa, I would argue, are all probably safe and won't have to fight it as much as Fulham. So I still think there's plenty of potential there for Tottenham.
One thing to call out is there is fierce rivalry between Tottenham and West Ham fans. It's not really publicised too much, but it is a really hotly contested derby. So, I mean, you don't know if they're going to win it or not necessarily, but the plus side is for us that means generally goals and an exciting game, because you have to give it all. So, and you would expect Villa to be safe, I suppose, by the time that game comes around, the last day of the season. I mean, you could probably argue that maybe they're safe already on 34 points. I reckon they probably need to get maybe 2 or 3 more. Probably 36 is probably going to be enough maybe this year.
Yeah, Yeah, I think Ericsson is worth a gamble. I think you're right with Adebayor. I mean, I was so disappointed he missed that penalty last week, having tipped him on the side, of course, and he goes and missed the penalty. But I mean, Spurs, I still think they'll beat Fulham. I know Fulham are down in there. I think if you're looking at Fulham, and certainly at this end of the season, you're going to need differentials. I think from the Fulham side, I think Steve Sidwell is probably a good one to look at. He's only 5.2 million, and he's got I think it's 2 assists in his last 3 games. So he is pushing forward, and I think just over the season he's been their most consistent performer. Not always necessarily from a points point of view, but he has been putting in the effort. He seems to be the one who's really willing to get in and dig his heels in and try and get results for them. So I'd be having a look there for him. I don't think my 3 striker spots could take Rodiega. I don't think I could do it to myself. I think I'd be far too worried about that. And I'm let's not forget I'm slightly protecting a lead, so I don't want to take too many gambles. But I think for Tottenham side, I think you're right. I don't think there's a clean sheet. I think Ericsson in the midfield for Spurs, Adebayor up top is certainly worth a look at. And if I was going anywhere at Fulham, I'd be having a look at Sidwell. But the result of this one is certainly by no means a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I'd agree with that.
Right, we'll go on to the second focus game, so we?
Sure, why not? Where are we going? What are we talking about next?
Well, we'll stay in London. We won't travel too far. We'll be lazy today. We'll stay in London. Chelsea and Sunderland. I suppose after the result with City last night, you kind of Sunderland had to come into our focus games this week. And Chelsea, of course, then the way they've been playing away from home, you kind of have to look and say, right, home form is going to be key. They're going to have to try and get better performances away from home, but looking at it at home, you'd expect them to be pushing on and getting a result. But based on the way Sunderland played last night, you can't say that Chelsea are going to go out and steamroll them. So I mean, like Chelsea have 4 wins and 2 losses in the last 6. They've scored 42 goals in 17 home games, and they've the meanest defence in the league. They've only conceded 9 goals at home all season, and they've got 9 clean sheets at the bridge as well. And even the goal scoring record, as I mentioned, 42 goals, is the 3rd best goal scoring record at home in the league. So, I mean, from that point of view, you're going to say Chelsea all day long. But just Sunderland showed that bit of fight. I mean, they've lost 5 of their last 6, and that draw last night is the first points they've picked up in those games. They've only managed, on average, a goal a game away from home, and they've conceded 32. But you just have to think maybe they'll keep pushing it. There might be value in someone there. I mean, Connor Wickham got 2 goals last night, and certainly to be quite a few fantasy managers kind of going, he could be an interesting differential. But I don't know if I'd be getting too excited about that. I mean, he's 4.6 million. He's only owned by 0.1%, which certainly puts him in the cheap differential category.
Absolutely, yeah.
But that's the goals he scored. After scoring only once in his first 37 Premier League appearances, he scored twice last night in 10 minutes. So I wouldn't be getting too carried away.
There was a lot expected of him. He was a hot up-and-coming prospect. Sunderland spent a few quid on him, but yeah, I mean, when you're really looking at it, right, Sunderland, they kind of remind me a little bit of Alex McLeish's Birmingham City a few years ago when they famously won I think it was Dan Carling Cup and went on to get relegated later that season. And really in the way that against big teams they have played impressively and sometimes gotten results, but against teams around them they haven't done it. Momentum is probably more important than anything else when you're down the bottom. And if you look at the last 6 matches for Sunderland, that point that they got surprisingly against Manchester City is the only point they've collected over their last 6 games, which really is just not good enough. You know, you can't expect to stay in the league. I mean, are Sunderland good enough a side to go on and break Jose's home record at Stamford Bridge? I don't think they are. I don't think even if they put up one of those performances that they will do it. Chelsea have Champions League also. They're juggling that too, so it might be a slightly shuffled side. You can make the argument for him to bring on a draw, but for me, even if Sunderland were to get out of relegation, which I don't think they will, I think it's probably gone a little bit beyond them now, which is sad to say. I can't see a heap of fantasy football points coming from them, and certainly not with the amount of own goals they're scoring. It makes things even worse. So I would not be looking at any Sunderland players. I think it would be looking at Chelsea really. And they would be the side that I'd be looking at. I mean, will you bring in any Sunderland players for the rest of the season?
No, I have to be honest. No, I'm not. I mean, there's two players from Sunderland. If you really thought they were going to go and do something, Adam Johnson would be one. I think I'd have a look at, and Jackarini. But Sunderland are bottom of the form table going into this, and you really can't see them turning Chelsea over. For me, I think, normally at this point of the season, as we've said, things can kind of get turned on their head. But really, for me, it's a Chelsea clean sheet. I think if you've got Petr Cech, you're going to play him this week. If you've got the likes of Terry Cahill or Ivanovic, they're going to start as well. Of course, everyone has, or a large proportion of people have Hazard. He's rated as 50-50 at the moment of playing with a calf injury. And I don't think he's going to be risked. I think with the Champions League coming up, like you said, I think Jose will put him to the side, and he'll continue to play without him. So, I mean, fantasy managers are going to be looking for a replacement for Hazard if they haven't already done it. And for me, I think you have to have a look at Matic. 6 million at this point in the season. He's Chelsea's most informed player, and he's got 4 assists in his last 4 games. At 6 million, it's hard to argue with that going into a game against a side that's at bottom of the table.
Look, it certainly is, I mean, but then I suppose the other side of it is just Salah is another player who's he's come along. We didn't really hear much of him all year, and he's starting to put in some good attacker performances. So, all of a sudden Chelsea, who already have an impressive squad, have a few more players who are coming on and not only doing the job, but actually doing quite well. So, I mean, he's 5.5 million. Obviously, Matic to 6 million.
Yeah.
There's absolutely an argument to throw one of them in. And particularly, there's a lot of people out there who maybe have, say, the likes of Ross Barkley, or these type of players. And I say it always depends on what you're playing for. So, I very much think if Everton, say, were to lose on Sunday, that they're not going to get a whole lot out of the rest of their games because their Champions League bid will be derailed. Whereas we know these players for Chelsea, because of their European commitment, are going to get game time, and you would expect Chelsea to continue to steamroll towards the league. So it's one or the other, really, isn't it? It's about how far you can stretch and throw one in, because it's a differential, and they're playing a great team. That's the other side of it. Yeah,
well, I mean, looking at Salah, I mean, his returns so far, I mean, this season and over the last 4 games, really, is what we're kind of talking about. Have all been at the bridge. I mean, he got a goal against Arsenal, and that's 6-0 when he came off the bench. And then his first home start against Stoke, he got a goal and assist. So, I mean, certainly looks like playing at the bridge suits him the way Chelsea set up at home. Could play into his hands, and you're right, at 5.5 million. I mean, having the likes of a Barkley in there, and you may want to take him out. Certainly with the way Martinez has been rotating his team, in terms of the attacking midfield 3. I mean, it's worth a shot. I personally would go with Matic if I had the extra 500,000, but if again budget doesn't dictate, I think Salah would have to come into it. And what do you think? Are we going to see more of Dembaba?
Yeah, I think we have to see him, don't we?
Yeah.
Edo Torres are probably fit and available. He's getting goals. There's no reason to take him out. I mean, if you look at it, you know what you're going to get from Edo. He's a seasoned professional. The funny thing, I'd be wanting to keep him fit for the Champions League, where he could probably do the most damage for me. And look, Fernando Torres, he's working hard. He's not really a 6-yard box striker. We could talk all day about him. But you know what you're going to get from Torres.
Yeah.
So it's a case that he might score you the odd goal, but he's not like a Rooney or someone like this who, when they get match fit and get a few goals, they go on a run. He's kind of very much up and down over his Chelsea career, which is, I mean, the statistics are shocking compared to his Liverpool days. But hey.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, it really is. It's Chelsea. It's Cech at the back. I mean, if I had a pick of all the Chelsea defenders, Azpilicueta would probably get the nod for me this week. And then I would go with Matic. I know you were saying Salah. And then, I mean, again, I think with the strikers we have this week, I don't think Ba, even if we knew he was certain to start, it'd make the team. But if you were looking for an outside shout, I think he's probably one to have a go at.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Right, will we keep our lit and move on to the final game?
Yeah, go on.
Right, we'll head to Merseyside, final game of the season, and it's Everton and United. No, it's not the final game of the season. It's the final game of our Focus 3. Yeah,
I think you're a bit like Newcastle here and already on
heading for the
holidays.
summer holidays. Yeah,
Just because Andrew's gone, right? It doesn't mean the football season is finished.
Oh, really? I think he thinks it might do.
Yeah, he got his dates wrong. Bless him.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I mean, Everton United. You kind of have to talk about Moyes going back to Everton. Fellaini obviously going back as well. Everton go into this on the back of one loss in their last 6. In fact, it's one loss in their last 8. They've scored 34 goals in 17 home games, conceded 16 with 7 clean sheets. United, on the other hand, have 4 wins and 2 losses in their last 6. They've also scored 34 goals in 17 away games and conceded 19 goals and also picked up 7 clean sheets. I mean, the records are strikingly similar for two teams when you think about it that, are either not long out of David Moyes' stewardship or just under his stewardship. And certainly, I don't know which way this one's going to go. I think Everton will turn United over, but United's away form this season has been far better than their home form. They've scored more goals on the road this season than they have at home.
Yeah, it's a very, very funny game, right? Obviously the David Moyes factor that's going to be really, really interesting to see. Obviously, he's going to get he's going to get abused. Let's face it, he's going to get. I would be.
Is that for the United fans or the Everton fans?
It could be everybody. Who knows? But no, in fairness, United fans don't say a bad word about him.
Not to his face, anyway.
Not in the stands either, which has been very, very much. I suppose a staple of the season. You might be wanting to, but you're not doing it. You're holding back and kind of going, all right, well, look, appreciate he needs time and all that good stuff that we can never all get enough of. But when we look at it, right, United, you can make a case for them. I mean, last 8 games, they've picked up 5 clean sheets. That's pretty good. Obviously, Vidic, he's at Inter Milan at the end of the year. It looks like Ferdinand is probably going to finish up this year. Evra, look, he lost his position due to a Champions League suspension to Butner, so it's a little bit questionable. But I would suspect that it could be a Jones-Smalling centre-half partnership this week. Wouldn't be not 100% on that, but I do think that Smalling will play some part. And when you look at United, they've got a double game week coming up. They've got some good home fixtures. And so after this Everton trip, they've got Norwich, they've got Sunderland and Hull, and they're all to visit Old Trafford. And there's potential there for clean sheets. And two, obviously, Old Trafford, it's not the fortress it once was, but United are starting to get clean sheets now. Small's 4.6 million. Could be somebody to look at. The other side of things as well is to consider Rooney is struggling with a foot or a toe injury. Yeah. And then you have obviously Van Persie. He's got that knee injury picked up against Olympiacos. So they're not expected. Well, Van Persie's definitely not going to expected to play, but Rooney's not expected to play either at the minute. So on that side of things, then you're kind of going, look, that opens the door for maybe you need your Danny Welbeck, your Chicharito. And then the other side of things are without those two main men, Mata has excelled. He was excellent against Newcastle. I mean, 3 goals, 2 assists in his last 2. You have to be looking at him to be, I suppose, to be the player who's going to, if United are going to go and get good results and if his forms to continue, he's one to be included. Obviously, he's had a lot of time off. He wasn't involved in the Champions League. So if you didn't have Mata in your team, I'd probably be a little bit concerned if someone around me did in my mini league, because I think he could go and have a good afternoon. And I mean, look, on the Everton side of things, look, we kind of know who the main players are, but I'm very interested to see how they respond to that defeat against Crystal Palace, because that was a painful one for them to take. If they'd actually won that, they would have been joint top of the form table with Liverpool as well. So it very much depends on how you see this game going. I can kind of see United getting a result. That's due to the momentum that's knocked that Everton have suffered due to that defeat last week. And looking at that, I'm kind of thinking, well, I'll bring Mata in. I've probably a third striker. I could consider a cheeky punt on Hernandez, maybe not, and then clean sheet wise, if you're looking at that, or maybe a smalling defender, 4.6 million. But that would be more for kind of the rest of the season as opposed to just this one-off game. But having said that, I mean, if I have my Everton players there, I'll more than likely play them this week as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem everyone's going to have when you think. I mean, with Everton playing twice last week, I mean, I know I did, and I'm sure most people, you bulked up, you brought in 3 Everton players, you made sure you had a full complement. They had the best fixtures of anyone playing twice last week. Okay, it didn't really go to plan. I mean, Lukaku, 2 blanks, but he's still their most informed player going into this one. But then you look at Naismith and you kind of think, ooh, could he just do it? I mean, he's 3 goals in his last 4 appearances, but he only got 45 minutes in the game against Palace. He came on. Sunderland, he played the 90 minutes, did nothing. It seems to be that when he starts, he doesn't necessarily do a whole lot, but yet when he comes off the bench, he's a good man for a goal. Is it worth risking?
I would say not. I wouldn't chance it.
Would you hang on to Lukaku?
Oh no, he's gone.
Right, let me ask you that question again. If you were me, would you hang on to Lukaku?
No, I think you should sell. I don't think Lukaku's worth hanging on to. I mean, what games have Everton got left?
Bear with me a second now when I get up their fixtures. Everton have Southampton away, City at home, and Hull away.
So, I mean, looking at that, all very difficult games. You know, I mean, look, we know that Cardiff got a result against Southampton there last week. But, like, Southampton, I mean, they peppered Cardiff's goal and they were unlucky not to win the match, even though they went on a loss. And you can have one of those days. City fighting for the title. Hull City, last day of the season, that might be a handy enough one with the Hull's Cup final appearance coming up a week later. So,
I mean, I've picked this one out as a focus game, but really, are you back? Would you back anyone for Everton? I mean, I don't fancy Everton for a clean sheet because United are averaging 2 goals a game away from home. I think the way Martinez has been rotating his attacking midfielders, I mean, Morelos and Barkley both played in the loss to Palace, but the week before that, we didn't see Barkley until the final. I think it was 30 minutes he came off the bench. So is it Morelos maybe is the only one in the midfield, and then you're writing Lukaku off? I mean, so we're selling Lukaku, we're going to bring someone else in. Like, are we kind of saying Everton are done?
If Everton lose this week, they're done.
Right, okay.
In my view. I would look at Barkley. Because Barkley is still kind of playing for a move. I mean, you know, it depends what his personal ambition is. If he wants to go to a Manchester United, if he wants to go to a, you know, I know, another top club, like, you know, whoever you would probably.
Does anyone want to go to United?
League. Well, as I say that, it kind of makes me pause and realise, he probably might not. And then he's probably not going to want to go to Liverpool, who are doing very well at the moment.
Yeah,
he's got Arsenal, Chelsea, and Arsenal are what they are. So, I mean, it depends on that. I mean, but look, even from a personal side, he's playing very, very well. A lot of eyes are on him at the moment. So he's one that
sneaky squeak for the England
prospect. Squad. Yeah, he's worth a shout.
So then United, it's Mata, and you can't really look to them for a clean sheet. I still think Everton can score goals at home.
Yeah, so I mean, not the sense.
So we've done well. We picked out a game with one player.
Yeah, glad I didn't pick this game this week.
Right, well, I think we'll wrap that up there and we'll get on to best of the rest. Right, we'll start off Villa Southampton. Anything in that one for you?
I think Aston Villa have to get a result, and Southampton are kind of playing free-flowing football, so I think it could be a good game. As regards player-wise, I'd probably stick to the Southampton side of things, and then it's your usual suspect, really, isn't it? Like, you know, I suppose Lallana is one you throw in, and maybe Lambert as well.
Yeah, I actually fancy Southampton for a clean sheet in this one.
Yeah, there's nothing in the Villa team that says we're going to score loads of goals, and because of that, that's why I don't really like going for teams like that who can only offer you a goal or so.
Yeah, I mean, Villa have only managed 19 goals at home all season. You know, and Southampton, they've only conceded 23 on the road all year. I know Benteke wasn't on form and he's out injured now, but I still think that can have an effect. I'd have a look at Southampton. I don't think Pochettino's the type of manager to let them kind of just slack off towards the end of the season. I think they'll want to put that defeat behind them. last week and get a win. So I'd look for Southampton, and certainly if you've got any Southampton defenders, I'd put them in. I don't know if Boric is going to make it back on time. We'll have more on the website on Friday just to keep that up to date. I think there's probably better value than Lambert this week up front. But now there's nothing at Villa for me. It's really Lallana in the midfield, Shaw at the back. And yeah, listen, if you've got Ricky Lambert, stick him in, but I wouldn't be rushing out to get him. So yeah, that kind of sums that one. Cardiff and Stoke, Paul?
I mean, what do you think? Jordan Much, do you think he's worth a punt?
Yeah, I'm not really feeling anything in this one, to be honest. There's nothing really jumping out at me from either of these sides. I know Cardiff got the result last week, but I mean, I was actually surprised they won the game because I watched the first half and they were dire and I turned it off. I went, right, Southampton should go on and win that. They had plenty of chances. Now, obviously, they didn't, but now there's nothing at Cardiff for me that's kind of saying, yeah, spend your money. And Stoke, I think, are done and dusted as well. They are playing well, but I just can't pinpoint where the points are going to come from. There's no real standout there for me.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the fixtures for the rest of the season for them, then it's just like, Sunderland away, Newcastle away, okay, fair enough, maybe, and Chelsea home. So on that side of things, yeah, look, I wouldn't be mad. I mean, if I had to pick someone, it'd be Jordan Much, but he's got 7 goals this year, which has been good, but he kind of blows hot and cold as well.
Yeah.
It'd be a good game. Let's see. Not on the Stoke side of things, there's no one really in Stoke that I'd be too interested in either.
No. Newcastle Swansea. I think Remy, there's a chance Remy could be back for this one. I think Newcastle certainly need him. I think they've only managed 1 goal in their last 4 games or last 6 games. 6 games it is, yeah. 1 goal in the last 6 games, I think. And it's just...
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. Well, I mean, it's coincided with Pardew being sent to the stands and all that issue, and obviously then the press are giving him a very hard time. That's who he's blaming for it. His downfall has nothing to do with the fact that they're not scoring goals. So, I mean, if Remy comes back, yeah, there's a chance they might go and do something. I mean, Moussa Sissoko's out, Ben Arfa is out going into this one. Remy, we're still not sure. I'm not really fancying Newcastle. I think there's a clean sheet in Swansea. I think if you've got the likes of Vorm there, it could be worth bringing in. He'd be a good differential as well this week for a clean sheet. Young Ben Davis at the back is also one to have a look at. But having said that, I'm not overly convinced by Swansea's attacking threat under Gary Monk. I know Michu is back this week. We've seen him play against Hull. He didn't feature against Chelsea. He should be all right to play this week. But he's not the player he was before he was out. And I don't think I could bring myself to invest in there. But certainly, I think if we keep it cheap at the back, Vorm and Davis.
I think you might get away with throwing in Bonnie. Bit of a differential. Use 7.2 million. I mean, Swansea, they need one more win to kind of secure their Premier League status. I've no fears that they will get relegated, but they still need to get that win, and you want to do that sooner rather than later. So, and Bonnie, he's a handful for anybody capable of scoring goals. So, I agree. They're not the kind of the enjoyable attacking team that we had seen over the last couple of years that were a joy to watch. But Bonnie might just get you a goal as a differential, so that's kind of the one player from that fixture. We're doing well here. We're getting 1 player from each game. But we're only going to land on 10 players. So
we'll be all right. Listen, we'll keep trucking because we're running tight on time. So West Ham Palace, for me, Punchin is the man on form there. You brought him in last week. I didn't bring him in because I thought he's probably not going to keep doing it because he hasn't showed any real sign of consistency over the course of the season. But yeah, you can't argue with him. I think he'd probably be the only
23 points he done very well too.
Yeah, so, if only he was my captain, huh? But yeah, I mean, for me.
It crossed my mind. I went with Coleman instead.
For me, he's probably the only one in that fixture. Have you anyone else jumping out for West Ham or Palace for you?
No, I wouldn't be going near West Ham.
No. Norwich, Liverpool. Norwich at home have been solid at the back, but listen, Liverpool, yeah.
Norwich can't score goals.
No.
Right? And they keep clean sheets sometimes. Look, if Steven Gerrard was shouting at the players in that huddle at the end of the pitch, we want to do exactly the same against Norwich.
Hang on. That was none of your business.
Oh, no.
Fair play to him. Can you tell us what you said? None of your business. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean...
I thought...
Sorry, go on.
No, I think Liverpool blow them away, and...
Do you think Sturridge will be risked this week?
No.
No, I don't think either. No, I don't think he is. I think he'll be left on the bench. If you've got Sturridge, I'd be very, very worried. But if you wanted to sell Sturridge and bring someone in who was gonna not cost you more money than that, I think I'd have a look at Coutinho this week. I was very impressed with him against City, and I think you could see a good performance there. But Suarez all day long, and as you said, Norwich, should I say, can't score. So certainly if I had any Liverpool defenders on min late, I'd be banging them in at the back. Hull and Arsenal, Paul.
Look, it's
dress
a
rehearsal for the FA Cup final.
Dress rehearsal, I should say. Yeah. I mean, Ramsey, I have a big question mark next to him. I think he could finish the season quite well. So
that's funny. I have a big question mark next to Giroud, but I don't know if I'm brave enough.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad shout. I mean, Arsenal have to go on and win games. You know, whatever way they look on it. I mean, they're going to be playing before Everton as well, so it's not like they'll have the reassurance if Everton were to slip up. That complacency could slip in for them. So I'd be picking the Arsenal players and going and being brave.
Right, and Man City, West Brom, for me, Aguero is probably the only one. Silva looks like he could be a doubt going into this one, but I'd say he's going to be alright. He's at that magical 75% mark. He should be fine. And I don't think they'll risk Yaya. I don't think we'll see Yaya this week.
No, he won't play, and I suppose Fernandinho will probably push further up the park, so that could be a little bit of something to consider.
Right.
Playing in Yaya's position.
Let's move it on for captains. Right, go on. I'll give you first dibs on a captain this week. Where are you hanging the armband?
Look, we're gonna all take the same captain. It's the lad who likes to get hat tricks against Norwich.
Yes, it is.
That talented Uruguayan, and look, Suarez is. You know, I don't see value really going anywhere else.
Right. If you were one of those managers who didn't have Suarez and went to the Sturridge route, where would you hang the armband? Where
would I throw it then? Looking at it, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, there's a couple of choices. If you had to pick one, I mean, would you chance bringing Aguero in and giving him the armband?
Yes,
that's an opportunity.
That's where I'd go with that. I think Suarez is your nailed on captain all day for this one. I think if I didn't have Suarez, I'd look to Aguero against West Brom. And if I really, really, really needed a differential and an outside show, I'd probably look to Mata against Everton. I just think United will get a couple of goals at Goodison. Yeah,
and the other total outside shows would be maybe an Ericsson, Tottenham at home to Fulham.
Yeah, I think Fulham's fight could disrupt the form there. But yeah, there we go. There's captains. Right, just about enough time to tell you, as per usual, live time will be with you on the Twitter machines. It's at FantasyPremTips on Twitter. And also, very quickly, if you head on over to FantasyPremierLeagueTransfers.com, we have an ebook on the site that's been brought to our attention. It's FPL Strategy, How to Win Your Mini League in the final weeks of the season. It comes highly recommended, lads. I checked that one out. But that'll do us from this week. Paul, thanks very much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.
Take it easy, guys.